The Intel Mac Pro gets the new AMD graphics card options, but what happened to Ice Lake Xeons? I'm Mike Cave Dave and I simplify Apple so that everything just works for you, and if you want the latest Apple news, leaks and rumours every weekday at 12 UTC, like the video, subscribe to the channel and ring the bell so you do not miss our live stream that you do not want to miss. So before we get to our main story about those Intel Mac Pros getting a graphics card update, let's just talk about some peripherals for Macs as well, because you can now get the new iMac versions of Apple's Magic Keyboard with TouchID and Numeric keypad, and also the TrackPad and Magic Mouse, which I don't think those two have changed at all. Maybe the TrackPad has more rounded corners, but we'll see. The keyboard with TouchID though is a cool $149, or add an extra $30 for the Numeric keypad version at $179. And it might just be worth that extra for having the properly sized arrow keys. This is the one thing that really winds me up on the current iMac keyboard that I've got. The other biggest change is that the corners of the keyboards have a more pronounced curve at the corners, which means that those keys in the corners also curve around. Could I have said the word corners any more times? Now, there are a couple of downsides to this news, however, which is, first of all, that the colours from the iMac aren't coming to these. This is just the silver and white version, at least for now, although I'm sure that some of those coloured versions will appear on the secondary market, thanks to iMac owners capitalising on their rarity. Oh, and the TouchID will only work with Apple Silicon-based Macs. So if you're running one of those antique Intel systems to keep your home warm during the winter months, you're out of luck on that front. And speaking of Intel Macs, Mac Pro has got graphic updates available now. So yesterday, Apple announced new graphics card options for their Insanity box, the Mac Pro. The Mac Pro grabbed headlines on its 2019 release, mainly due to the option to spend over 50 grand on it, including $700 wheels and 1.5 terabytes of RAM. Notably though, it's also intended to be the most upgradable Mac option, and yesterday's releases include a $2,800 Radeon Pro W6800X, a $5,000 Radeon Pro W6800X Duo, and the top-of-the-line Radeon Pro W6900X, which will set you back a cool $6K. And these are just the prices if you upgrade it at the time of buying, so that's including the discount for the default graphics card. These are all wrapped up in Apple's MPX modules to take advantage of the Infinity Fabric link, which minimises the bottlenecks in transferring the data. However, what hasn't showed up is the Intel Ice Lake Xeon chips that we were expecting, which would have offered better performance and up to 4 terabytes of RAM support. So, will we still see these in future? Well, they do use a different CPU socket, so Apple would need to develop and produce a whole new logic board if so, and given that Intel decided to be a bit grumpy and borrow former Mac Justin Long, I feel that Tim Cook may have given Intel the old Elon Musk telephone call treatment and cancelled this. Now, this is full-on speculation, but with Apple Silicon-based Mac Pros presumably not that far away, it might just be that the soon-to-come Macs will absolutely destroy this Intel Mac Pro for a much lower price. Plus, there will be a much better comparison for them to make when they're comparing it against the 2019 model, when Apple Silicon does come, as opposed to a 2021 model, which is probably going to be quicker. So honestly, I don't see Apple bringing another full Intel system. I think that this is our final Intel Mac Pro update. And I, for one, wouldn't want to be spending $50,000 on a system that's using several-year-old Xeon processors. But let me know down in the comments if you are super excited to spend $6 grand on a graphics card to go into a very expensive big old box to keep your house warm. So I mentioned it at the top of the show, make sure that you have rung the notification bell because you do not want to miss the iCaversary stream that we've got going on. I think we're now at about 15 guests. The number keeps going up. We've got some really, really impressive names. We've got people like Jericho, we've got Luke Miani, we've got John Prosser, we've had agreements from Brian Tong, from Greg's Gadgets, from Travis, the guys over at the Gadget Cast. These are all people that have said they're happy to come on. Obviously, people's schedules change, so there may be changes, but these are the people, along with a whole raft of other YouTubers and cool people from Twitter that we want to get on the show. We do want to get people involved from the audience too, so if you want to be involved, please make sure that you are subscribed to the channel, because I don't want you to miss this. Next up, we're going to get into your iCave answers. If you want to ask a question in the show for this or any time in future, use hashtag iCave answers down in the comments section. First question today comes from Lit8, hashtag iCave answers. Do you think that the iPad 9 will have no home button? If not, when will it? So right now, I'm pretty confident that the iPad 9 is going to have a home button, unfortunately, and the main reason for that is it's likely to be staying either with the current design or getting the iPad Air 3's design, which is slightly thinner, has the laminated display, and those kind of things. So we're not expecting this to go bezel-less at this point. I think we're more likely to see it not even on next year's model, especially if they do change the form factor to the iPad Air 3 version, possibly the iPad 11th gen, so a couple more years out of this design for now. But let's be honest, this is the super budget iPad that is designed to just be there for a price point, and it is more expensive to make these liquid retina displays with the rounded corners and all that sort of thing. So I don't think it's too much of an issue, if I'm honest. Next up, Marcin Kowalczyk asks, iCave answers, yesterday Google Quantum made the news with time crystals. Is it not time for Apple to push towards quantum? Okay, it's time for a little bit of quantum physics, and I'm sorry, this is going to be kind of heavy. I'm going to keep it to a paragraph, and I'm reading it from another publication because it's very difficult to get your head around, but hold on tight. So this is coming from Yahoo News, because they kind of had the easiest to read, kind of the most basic version that I could find, talking about a little bit of this stuff. So, theorised in 2012, the time crystal concept is a new phase of matter. The next web explains that time crystals contradict one of Sir Isaac Newton's famous laws. The first law of motion says that an object at rest tends to stay at rest, and an object in motion tends to stay in motion. In our universe, though, there is something called high entropy, or disorder. Something always happens thanks to energy exchanges. Entropy remains the same, but if there are no processes, but increases in their presence. But that's not valid for time crystals. They can maintain entropy even when they are used in a process. To understand Google's time crystals, the next web offers a great analogy with snowflakes. They have unique designs as the atoms are arranged in specific ways. Snow falls, melts, water evaporates, and then it will eventually become snow again. All of these processes involve energy exchanges. A time crystal would be like having a snowflake that can change between two configurations, back and forth, with no energy usage or energy loss. Time crystals can have their cake and eat it too, and they can do it perpetually. Now, this is what makes it kind of interesting. Basically, they are quantums that are able to flip between different states in order to, I guess that's part of the way that they perform calculations. If they're able to flip their positions, I guess that's like the on-offs of a processor, of binary, essentially. So, but they can do it without using any energy to do it, which is kind of where it gets insane. Because anything that can do stuff without using up any energy, without any energy being lost to the environment and stuff, does break the first law of thermodynamics, which is that everything should be going towards that kind of flat state of energy. How this will work for computing, I really don't know. But apparently Google have done it, and well done to them. I don't see us getting quantum iPhones for quite some time yet, though. Tim Kinetics asks, I drink answers spiced rum, lime and cola, or spiced rum, lime and ginger ale. Well, it just so happens that spiced rum is my job, so I'm pretty good on this one. Great with Coke, better with ginger ale. Finally, a question I'm actually qualified to answer. Next up, again from Team Kinetics, iCave answers, do you think we'll ever see a cellular MacBook? This question comes up a lot and I don't understand the demand. What's wrong with tethering? I tether my iPhone to my iPad Pro or a laptop and it works perfectly. Why do people want cellular laptops? I get exactly where you're coming from and I completely agree. I think as much as anything, it's a convenience thing as much as anything else. If you've got the option of having this as well, and if it, for example, let's forget about cost. You can use data on any of your devices without having to worry about tethering it to your iPhone or finding a Wi-Fi network. That's really convenient. It's really convenient on our phones to pull it out of our pocket, be able to immediately do stuff on it, and not have to worry about what's it connected to, how strong is my connection, all that sort of stuff. The idea of having a cellular laptop, a cellular MacBook, means that you can just pull it out whenever you want. You don't have to faff around. You can just open it, start working, close it, continue with your day. So that is, I would guess, the big draw for a lot of people. I would also say, though, that there's the option of, if you have a cellular one, you can have a different network on it. For example, you could use a different carrier for your laptop than you use for your phone. Therefore, if you're in an area that doesn't have signal on your laptop, you can then tether it as a backup. Or if you happen to be in an area where you don't have phone signal, you can use your laptop to connect to stuff. I would just say it gives you a real good backup. It gives you an extra means of communication, and convenience is probably the main thing. But I personally tether as well, and I'm quite happy with that. Brian Data asks, I gave answers, any update on the M1X Mac Mini, likelihood of showing in September? I'm getting pessimistic given the ECC numbers and the early renders of a smaller Mini. So we have seen renders of a new Mac Mini. It looks like that's not necessarily smaller, but I would say that the chances are we may well be getting the old design with M1X chips inside, because to be honest, it could be the old chassis, make it space grey, put M1X inside, and you've just got all of the connectivity back that you had on the previous ones. Now, we could then be looking at a redesign coming in the spring, when we have the M2 MacBook / MacBook Airs coming. That would make sense as well, just to kind of spread it out a bit. We're going to have enough announcements going on in the fall that I think we can probably manage without needing another redesign to show off. Although, that all being said, I think it would be great if it did. Team Kinetics asks, I gave answers, what is your Apple Watch charging routine? I wish my Series 6 had a little more battery life. Currently a quick charge while I shower, and then again briefly before bed. That normally tops it up enough, but if I miss one of those slots, I don't think it will last much over 24 hours. Okay, you ready for the secret? I don't have a charging routine. I look at my watch, right now it's at 35%, so this is going to get a little bit of charge before I go to bed. Normally I'll make sure that I've managed to fill my rings before I try to charge it. If I notice it's getting a bit low, I'll throw it on the charger for a little bit, and then my phone will tell me when it's charged, and I will go and put it back on. But I don't really have a routine for it. I wear it overnight. I tend to charge it when I'm at my desk, just purely because I'm not moving much anyway. It seems to make the most sense to me. But there's no set schedule. It gets charged when it needs charging. I'm using the SE, by the way. And Ryan Ballinger asks, I gave answers, do you think that the Apple Watch Series 7 will be able to detect signs of a COVID-19 infection? Great question, and it really depends whether they manage to put in that body temperature sensor. If they do, then that is a very good step towards being able to detect any kind of infection, because that will tend to lead to a fever. So yes, assuming that they manage to get the body temperature sensor in, which honestly shouldn't be the difficult one, that should be a pretty simple little bit of kit. It's a thermometer. If they can do that, then it should be able to give an early warning of an infection. It will not be able to tell you that it is COVID-19, but I believe there's also a higher heart rate that comes along in the early stages of the infection as well, so potentially it could give you more of a COVID-19 push if that's the case too. That's all I know right now, but hopefully it will get some kind of new sensors as well as looking prettier. And the last one is another food question, so iCave answers, more food questions coming. Would you rather have one free pizza a week for the rest of your life, or £5 million? So I almost jumped to the wrong conclusion here and said pizza. However, I would take the 5 million, and I will tell you exactly why. The average lifespan for a British man is 78 years, which is 4,056 weeks. I'm basically halfway through this. Let's say 2,000 weeks to go. Let's assume £15 for a pizza takeaway. That means £30,000 spent in pizzas between now and the end of my life, assuming I have a takeaway one every week, which is a bargain compared to 5 million, so I'm definitely taking the money and buying my own damn pizzas. But thank you all for joining today. Again, don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to hit the like button if you're already subscribed. You're allowed to do a like even if you're not subscribed. I'm fine with that. but I think you should probably hit subscribe as well. You've stayed this long. It definitely looks like it's a channel you're going to enjoy, and I would ring the bell as well, because you definitely don't want to miss that live stream with all the celebrity YouTubers that I've somehow conned into coming on my little show. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.